The seven of them gathered in a single room with an atmosphere that felt heavier than usual. And although the camera captured smiles and light banter, there was an undercurrent flowing beneath the surface, an unspoken solidarity directed towards Suga, who once again found himself at the center of attention due to a barrage of issues that refused to relent. In this particular live stream, which could easily be mistaken as just another casual gathering, was in fact anything but ordinary, because when BTS appears as a full group, even the subtlest gesture takes on weight. And this time, every detail seemed deliberate, from the clothes they wore to the way they sat, especially Suga, wrapped in an oversized jacket, positioned slightly at the edge but not isolated, his expression composed but betraying hints of unease, and while none of them directly addressed the topic that had stirred the internet days earlier, the sudden resurgence of an old controversy that some claimed was reignited by forces unseen. Each movement and gaze communicated more than words ever could, and it became increasingly clear to viewers that this wasn't simply a feel-good reunion, but a silent yet firm show of support for one of their own. And when the broadcast began without elaborate introductions, just a soft greeting from Jin, who appeared cheerful in a shirt featuring a familiar illustration that fans later connected to something Suga liked, it set the tone for what followed. No confessions, no defensiveness, just presence, unity, and warmth. And from that moment, fans were attuned to every subtle cue. J-Hope glancing more often in Suga's direction, nodding as if offering quiet assurance. RM sitting slightly angled towards Suga, not overtly shielding him, but anchoring the energy of the group in a way only he could. Jimin unusually still and observant, smiling gently yet with eyes that seemed alert and protective, while V and Jungkook kept the mood buoyant, injecting light jokes and laughter that didn't overshadow the moment but kept the air breathable. And as the live continued without dramatic shifts or sensational declarations, what emerged instead was something more profound, a collective resilience wrapped in simplicity, the kind of strength that doesn't roar but hums beneath the surface. And fans, those who watched live and others who caught up through viral clips, sensed it immediately, flooding comment sections with remarks like, "I can feel the love without them," saying it, and they didn't need to speak on it, it's obvious. And in that way, BTS once again demonstrated their rare ability to communicate across layers, beyond language and beyond performance. And when Jin casually remarked, "These past few days have been exhausting," the sentence hung in the air, deceptively light yet undeniably loaded, because those who followed the news knew exactly what he meant. And it wasn't just about physical fatigue, but the emotional toll of navigating public scrutiny while remaining composed. And in a celebrity world that often demands statements, confrontations, or retractions, the group's approach was a quiet rebellion, choosing not to react in expected ways, but instead reclaiming narrative through presence and togetherness. And in doing so, they offered something far more impactful than any press release could, a reminder that standing by someone doesn't always require words. Sometimes just sitting beside them, sharing a moment, and letting the world watch is enough. And as the live progressed, the tone never shifted drastically, yet a delicate evolution unfolded in real time. What started as a seemingly casual reunion began to reflect a tapestry of emotional anchoring, each member subtly adjusting themselves around Suga in both body and tone, allowing the space to be light but not hollow, cheerful but not oblivious. And in doing so, they achieved a rare balance, comforting without overexposing, standing firm without needing confrontation. And as fans continued watching, the comments transformed from initial excitement into a slow cascade of gratitude and recognition, not only for Suga'S quiet presence, but for how the group navigated the moment with intentional grace. And media outlets began picking up on the broadcast shortly after it ended, dissecting the seating arrangement, facial expressions, and even wardrobe choices, with some headlines delicately referencing a live that felt more like a warm embrace, while others noted an elegant pushback without a single word uttered. And it was this very refusal to lean into theatrics that made the live feel so intimate, Because in the world of K-pop, where fan service and scripted entertainment are often expected, BTS chose authenticity wrapped in silence. And from the muted color palette of Suga'S outfit to the way J-Hope leaned slightly forward when he spoke, all of it seemed like choreography of care, and even the background art, once perceived as mere set design, became part of fan theories, especially the panel behind Suga, which featured muted tones and layered brushstrokes that some interpreted as symbolic of how he was feeling. Complex, subdued, but still artful, still whole. And it wasn't just fans who noticed as cultural commentators began to weigh in too, not with loud declarations, but with quiet analyses about the way this live redefined how celebrity groups respond to internal crisis, suggesting that BTS might be setting a new standard for emotional support in the public eye. And yet, despite all this, the group themselves never acknowledged anything explicitly, making the broadcast feel less like a statement and more like an offering, an open door into their shared space where fans were invited to witness not just performance, but presence, not just unity, but empathy in action. And perhaps the most telling moment came toward the end, when Suga, who had remained mostly observant throughout, let out a soft laugh at a comment Jean made, a laugh that wasn't loud but lingered longer than usual. And in that laugh, something shifted. His shoulders relaxed, his gaze lifted, and the others responded immediately with micro-expressions that felt almost rehearsed, though clearly spontaneous. Relief, encouragement, pride, and it's in these moments, small and easily missed, that the core of BTS reveals itself. Not in grand gestures, but in consistent, quiet care, and the ripple effects of this live continued long after the screen went dark, with fan edits circulating on social media paired with captions like "Real friendship needs no script," and "This is what healing looks like," while think pieces appeared the next day, reflecting on how public figures might learn from BTS's example. Not every response must be verbalized. Not every defense needs to be loud. Sometimes solidarity is best shown through stillness, shared space, and steady presence. And by the time the conversation shifted toward other trending topics, the impression left by this moment had already embedded itself in the fandom's emotional archive. A reminder that no matter how loud the noise outside gets, there exists a quieter, stronger sound within. A collective heartbeat that doesn't skip even when one member falters. And that rhythm, invisible yet deeply felt, continues to define not just BTS, but the way they choose to move through the world together. And in the hours that followed, social media didn't quiet down. It transformed, evolving from speculation to appreciation, as fan threads chronicled the entire live second by second, noting even the smallest exchanges, the glances, the laughter, the way Jungkook lightly tapped the table twice before speaking, a detail that under normal circumstances would be shrugged off, but now felt like part of a larger, carefully woven mosaic of presence and intention. And suddenly the live wasn't just a broadcast. It became a statement piece without needing a press release. It was dissected not for scandal, but for sentiment, for how it preserved dignity in the face of turbulence and reminded people that strength doesn't always show up in confrontation. And more interestingly, the ripple wasn't just within the ARMY fandom, but spilled into broader online communities who admired the emotional intelligence on display, with wellness writers, media critics, and even professors of communication studies reposting clips and offering thoughtful takes on what it meant to protect someone publicly in a digital era without turning it into a spectacle. And this led to something quite rare in the entertainment ecosystem. A moment of universal consensus that didn't come from a triumph or a hit release, but from quiet care, and the mood online was contemplative rather than chaotic, empathetic rather than explosive, because Suga, who had remained the eye of a storm he never asked for, was being given something very few public figures receive, a moment of stillness, offered not by management or press agents, but by the people who know him best and chose to share their presence instead of their outrage. And it was that choice, measured, intentional, human, that became the defining tone of this live. And by the next morning, news outlets that typically leaned into sensationalism shifted gear, running headlines that felt more like journal entries. BTS responds with grace, a lesson in friendship, no words, just presence. And though these titles might not trend the way controversies do, their staying power was undeniable, much like the live itself, which replayed again and again, not because of what was said, but because of what was felt. And as analysts began debating how this quiet display might impact Suga'S ongoing perception in the public eye, fans already knew the answer. It already had, because vulnerability paired with solidarity is the antidote to doubt. And whether or not his name ever trends again for the wrong reasons,